All right, welcome back. This is Java 1, and we're going to talk a little bit more about loops. In this, I have a scanner. I'm calling this ending loops. Before we did a little video on, well, previously I've done videos on uh, while, for loops, do while. This is specifically a while loop. The difference is the previous loops ended after a certain number of rotations. A certain number of iterations would be the word there. Iteration means the loop goes through one time. But in programs, let's say games or any program, you may not want to go a certain number of times. You may want to go until a certain condition is met. For example, go until I die, and the game's over. Go until I click the exit button, and then the game loop stops and shuts everything down. Uh, those are good examples. If I just said go 1,000 times, well, what if I die before that? What if I want to quit before that? What if I want to keep playing far beyond that? Well, if I say go 1,000 times, it won't go more than 1,000. It's going to stop without extra code to change. And there's no point in that when we have other things that do that specific thing without adding in a whole bunch of extra stuff. So I have a scanner, and I'm calling this ending loops. Now, I set up my scanner in my main, and I'm going to have a variable that I'm going to declare. Now, I have to declare this variable first because I can't loop using that variable unless it exists first. A common error here is people will try to, loop before the variable is even declared. So I'm going to use strings in this case. You can use integers, it doesn't really matter. Now with a string, you do have to use the dot equals. If this string dot equals, if that dot equals, that sort of thing. But here we go. I've got it declared. It's just empty right now. Now I'm going to loop while end is not exit. So that means when I type in the word exit, this loop will end. And only then. So the beginning of my loop looks like this. And this is the entire program for those who want to copy it. My class here, my main. Now, while not end dot equals exit. That basically means while end does not equal exit. The exclamation point means the opposite. So if I take off the exclamation point, this basically says while end is exit, keep looping. Well, end is an exit. It is, a blank space. So I want to say while it's not exit, end. Now, I'm going to print a little message. Type in 1 or 2, the words. Exit quits the program. And then I'm going to use that same variable. Now, I can't say, this is another common error, string end again, strictly because it's already declared. I only have to define it once. So I can just change it after this. Whatever I type in, it's going to use that the next time it comes up, and that will decide whether it ends or not. Now I can use switch case here if I want to. Switch, case 1, case 2, exit, and if you want to use that instead, you're more than welcome to. I'm more partial to ifs. Strictly speaking, cases, as I probably said before, are more efficient. If I type in the word 1, it'll go directly to 1 and not go down each one of these in turn. If I type in exit, it'll go directly to exit, so it's a little more efficient. For what we're doing, it doesn't really matter. It's not going to make much of a difference. If we'll go from the first one, then check the second one, then check the third one. So we're talking tiny fractions of a second slower. Now, if you're building some huge program where you have to do this millions of times, then it will definitely make a difference. Think of a game where you get to an area and all of a sudden the frames per second drop to 10. This kind of thing, would mean it's not that well optimized. it's taking all these CPU cycles to do this instead of display stuff on the screen like it should. That's an example of that. But I'm going to keep it ifs because, again, it doesn't matter for me. Now, if n dot equals 1, I'll just print this message. If n dot equals 2, I'll print that message. Else if n dot equals exit, I say goodbye, didn't like you anyway. And then the else is if I type in something else other than what I asked for. That's not a choice, noob. Now, a couple of ways I could end this. I could say break. And what break will do is basically end this loop, a break statement. That will completely end this entire thing. Break breaks out of your loop. Quick and easy way to get out of a loop if you needed to. The other option would be system.exit. System.exit shuts Java down completely. So it will no longer keep going. I don't need either of these because my loop is going to end when I type in exit anyway. Now, let's run this and let's see how it looks. But those are two ways you can legitimately end a loop. And it'll end just the same. So let's run this. I'll come down here. Type in 1 or 2. 1. 1 is the loneliest number. Type in 1 or 2. Now, since I typed in 1, it printed that message, went to the loop, came back up here, and it has to check. Well, is the word 1 exit? No. Then we keep going. So I'm back here again. I'll type in 2. Who does number 2 work for? Well, I typed in 2, so it went here. Who does number 2 work for? It came to the end of the loop, came back up, and, well, 2 is not exit, so we're going to run the loop again. It's waiting for me to type something else in. Fuzzy pickles. That's not a choice. Well, 1, 2, 3 are my choices on the if, else if, else if. Else means I'm going to come here if I do anything other than those 3 choices there. The same would be true if I did this as switches. I have 3 choices. Default is the else. I'm going to come here, if I choose something that's not on my list. That's not a choice. Well, Fuzzy Pickles is not exit, so we come back again. I type in exit, and it's going to loop, display here, come back up, and look at that. Exit is exit. This whole loop closes. Now, if I had some code after this, it would display it then, or run that code. But since I don't, the whole program's pretty much over at that point. And I could do either of these and get about the same result as this. Now, what if I said while true? Then this loop's an infinite loop. This equation up here basically ends up being true or false in the end. This just makes an infinite loop. Kind of a really poor way to program, honestly. I like the loop to end naturally when you do something. Less problems. But if I did one of these, this loop would still end and it really wouldn't change my program that much. But in larger programs, I probably would not want to do that. I'd want it to end, at a specific point when certain things happen. I could safeguard and put in these just in case that didn't happen. But if it doesn't happen like it's supposed to, it just means I programmed it badly. All right, and that is a little bit of extra making loops end. Might cut out, like if I wanted to make a program with a menu or something like that to choose from. This would be the kind of setup I would go with. All right, and that is the end.